I'm really delighted to be able to chair this panel. I'm not a veteran myself. My father served in World War II, and I've always had a heart for vets.
You have a great Jeep.
I have a great Jeep and a tank, but that's another story. Let me introduce our panel, and then we're going to kick it off. First, to my immediate left is Ben Perdue. Ben served with distinction in the U.S. Navy, deployments in Asia and Middle East during his term of service. He was named Executive Director of Village for Vets in West LA about 2 years ago now, right? Yeah. Village for Vets is a 501c3 nonprofit formed to fill critical gaps in services provided to homeless and at-risk veterans in Los Angeles as they pursue their journey to stability and independence. Prior to joining Village for Vets, Ben served in a number of capacities with VA programs for homeless veterans, including supportive services for veteran families, also known as SSVF, I think that's the acronym you guys use, and HUD Veterans Affairs supported housing. So thank you for being here, buddy. To his left is Chris Gilrath. Chris is with the Salvation Army. He has served as the program manager for the LA Metro Salvation Army supportive services for veteran families for the past about 7 years, correct? Yeah. Among other things, it helps homeless veterans and their families with housing opportunities and needed services, and it helps those who are at risk of homelessness by providing permanent housing support and homeless prevention assistance. He is one of the co-chairs of the One Team initiative, which is an innovative, collaborative approach to this issue. I'm going to let Chris talk a little bit about that later. Chris was also the recipient of the Man of Honor Award issued by the LA Urban League Young Professionals, given to men under the age of 40, which I was a couple years ago, but that's okay. Who have made an impact on the city of Los Angeles through service, professional accomplishments, and leadership. So thank you both for being here. Look, some of the numbers are staggering. If you look at national homelessness, we're up at about 775,000 people, and that number has jumped from 555,000 people just a few years ago. California, 187,000 homeless. For the period 2010 to 2024, that number went up 31%. We've made some progress in the last couple of years. But I'm starting this on a theme that my friend and one of our panelists that couldn't be here, Dr. Carl Castro from USC. If you've been here before, you've heard him talk. He's amazing. He's written incredible stuff on this subject. But the point I make with those numbers is we have made some excellent progress on the issue of homeless veterans, both in this community and nationally. The numbers nationally, in that same time period when California was going up 31%, nationally across, if you're averaging it, more than 18%, the number of homeless veterans in the country decreased by over 55%. Now, look, everyone matters. We need to have compassion and concern for every single man, woman, and child on the streets of our nation. But the veterans, the men and women who gave service to our country and put their lives at risk for our country, have a special place in our hearts. And so the fact that we've made good progress is heartwarming, but we've got some work to do. And we're going to talk a little bit about the work that we're doing in this area locally, and how we're going to continue to make a difference. Is this one of those segments, one of those millisections, I think is the word, that we find where we can actually get the number to zero? That's the goal. We think we can. We've got some work to do. But just to get in terms of numbers, LA County, I think we're at about 3,000 homeless vets in the last count. And that's down, it's been reduced considerably over the last several years. I think we were at 3,800 just a couple of years ago. So we're making great progress. So let me turn it over to Ben, and I'm gonna ask Ben to give just a little bit of historical perspective before you talk about Village for Vets and what you're doing. So.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. So I get the privilege of sharing the once upon a time. Coming here today was a little challenging for me. 30 years ago today, I was sleeping on the streets in Skid Row, looking up at buildings like this, wondering what was going on. And a little homework for you all, and I know there's some people out there that have similar experiences. They went through a lot. It really alters the way you view things in life. But I looked at the panel flyer we had today, and I saw me on there. And I was thinking, high school dropout, 30 years ago, I was sleeping on the streets, and I'm on the same panel with a mayor? That's weird. So it's just amazing. But I would also offer you all some homework if you haven't done this already. I know some of you are there all the time, but I would encourage you all before you go home, go drive around Skid Row. I do that every single year as just a lesson of humility of where I came from, and every single day, I know I can go back there. And it drives me and a lot of my staff, and a lot of people that do this work. So it's very powerful. So when I see Salvation Army, I think, by the grace of God, I've been saved and saved from that situation. So I also emphasize this because all of you are the people that would help somebody like me. I didn't get out myself. I got it because of people like you. So it's just, this work is important. It really is. And without you people, there's going to be a lot of people just like me that are not going to be able to do it. And I was also telling Stephen when he got a hold of me, like, I should get a hold of me for this. Like, of all people. And still today, it kind of blows my mind that I'm an executive director. Again, 30 years ago, homeless dropouts in the streets. So yeah, I appreciate that. So there's a lot of history with veterans. That's amazing. A lot of work that's been done, which Stephen has brought up. But for Village for Vets, we really highlight the history there of the West LA VA campus. So I'm going to go over that a little bit because it's kind of an interesting history for those of you that are unaware of it. But Abraham Lincoln signed the legislation for the VA campus and for housing for vets throughout the nation a month before he was assassinated. So I don't know if people know that or not. So that's really how it started. So it started on the East Coast and it moved all the way out here to the West Coast. And the West LA VA specifically has been there for every veteran, for every conflict that we've ever had. It's pretty well that it's been there since the Civil War. And it started off in 1888, and they had 500 veterans move in there and build the barracks themselves for that first year. And it went up to 1,000, all the way back in 1888. And it's kind of went up over the years, over the course of the time for that, until you get to the 1940s, around the end of World War II. Actually, 80 years ago this month is when World War II ended. But this isn't the first veteran homelessness crisis we've ever had. We had one after World War II. We had all these vets coming back from doing their deployments and coming back and trying to get established here. And we had a massive issue there, but we were able to kind of work through that. And that was the peak of when the West LA VA housing had most of their veterans on campus. We had over 5,000 veterans that were living on the West LA campus in the 1940s. It's kind of unbelievable if you think of that today. And I also share the story that I don't think a lot of people know, but anybody ever heard of Roger Young Village? Nobody? You gotta know about Roger Young Village. So where the LA Zoo is, there was a place called Roger Young Village that was built there to help with this homelessness crisis we had in the 40s. And they built 1,500 units for families. It was one of the first integrated units, or first integrated communities in Los Angeles. 1,500 units for 1,500 families. How long do you think it took in 1945 to build 1,500 units for families? How long do you think?
6 months.
6 months, anybody else, any guesses?
A year.
A year? Yeah. How long do you think it would take us to build something like that today?
Years. 5 years.
2 months. They were able to build that in 2 months. 2 months. And I think the point of bringing that story up is because I think after World War II, and I think a lot of people also share this thought, we were more politically aligned. We didn't have all the divisions that we had now. So when you need to build housing for families, you can do that. So we had 5,000 veterans living on campus in the 40s. We had another 1,500 families that were living in where LA Zoo parking lot is. There were up to 5,000 people living at Roger Young Village. So we had 10,000 units just like that in the 40s. And we couldn't do that today at all in that way. So it's amazing how that has happened. So since the 40s, veteran housing has kind of dropped down for the VA campus. It's become more of a medical model, which is understandable. Also, we did some really good things with housing in the 50s in LA. We had a housing boom. Housing was built everywhere. It really helped out with a lot of these things now. So fast forward to today, you know how many veterans we have living on the campus now? Anybody know? Any guesses? We're right where we started, it's around 500. So we went from 500 to 5,000 to now we're back down to 500. Here in a few months, we're going to be up to 700. And then we have things with, I know you guys have probably heard about Trump's executive order where they're trying to get 6,000 units on there, which is very ambitious. And then they have a master plan where they're trying to get 1,200 units by 2030. So the reason I bring all this stuff up is I think all of this is important, all these things that we were talking about, but we've been able to solve these problems before with the right political will. I know it's a lot more challenging today than it was in the 40s, but I think it's just really important to recognize that a lot of the things that we're doing, if we can align and get on the same page and make sure that we're prioritizing our veterans, we can make these things happen. And I'm really excited about what's to come. I'm very optimistic, maybe more optimistic than others. But I think it's a good point for us to strive for doing these things. I think these are things that we do at Village for Vets. We really we're literally turning the VA campus into a Village for Vets. And we're hoping that this is a model that can be replicated throughout the nation. I've been going to a lot of these national conventions for homelessness, I'm sure you guys have too, and it always used to bug me that they would say, everybody's doing great. Iowa, who has like 20 veterans, they did really good. They brought it down to 7. And then they would always say, well, except for LA. Yeah. That's changed. That's changed a lot. And for the fact that everybody's looking at LA as the model, has a lot to do with like this gentleman right here with the one-team approach that we've been doing. It's been phenomenal. And I'm going to pass on the back a little bit. I've been doing this work for about 15 years. And originally it was around over 6,000 veterans that were homeless when I first started in 2010. Now it's under 3,000. Maybe it's just a coincidence that Chris and I were doing that work. But we'll take credit. Every year it's went down. So we're really proud of the work that we've done. More to do, but veterans also, they're the ones that are they're the tip of the spear for ending homelessness across the board. We have more resources. So if we can make this happen with veterans, we can make this happen with everybody. So there's a lot of optimism for veterans. So there's a lot to be excited about, and great to have partners like Chris and all of you to make that happen.
Tell us just a few words about Village for Vets. You talked about the VA and how they intersect or how they overlap, or what? Tell us about Village for Vets.
Yeah, so Village for Vets was started almost 10 years ago. So the VA, they have all these things that they can't provide. Federal government, right? They can't provide things. So our founder, Marcy Schwartz, they reached out to her and asked her if she would provide sandwiches for a Super Bowl party. So her and Pam Dauber, you guys know who Pam Dauber is? Yeah, so they came together and they provided sandwiches for the Super Bowl party because the VA couldn't provide food, which is weird. You can't pay for water either, which is just weird things. So we provided, that's how we essentially started. So they had an issue with, are you guys familiar with Veterans Row, the encampment at Brentwood? Huge issue, it was making national news, had their own website, a lot of things were going on with that. The VA didn't know what to do for it. So they reached out to the sandwich lady, Marcy. Hey Marcy, we got this issue. What can we do? Can you help us with this? She raised enough funding in 24 hours to create the first 25 tiny homes that are there on the campus. Within 24 hours, she reached out to, hey, donors matter. Work with your donors. You can't do it all yourself. So she got that. Then she reached out to Arnold Schwarzenegger, who paid for the next 25. Now there are over 140. So all of this just happened just like that. But again, the one thing I really appreciate with my supervisor is she has a very different mindset. She doesn't want to hear excuses. We have a lot of excuses in homeless services. But her attitude is like, hey, we always support the VA and support veterans to make sure that they have everything that they do. So that's what we do for Village for Vets. We're actually having a dental clinic right now for veterans that don't get dental care. Only 15% of veterans get dental care. I'm not sure if you know that or not. So we open that up and we provide that. Floods of veterans need that. We provide rental assistance when SSVF can't cover it with our E-Fund. We provide a lot of different things like that. We provide transportation assistance. A lot of the veterans that are living on campus, they can't afford to eat in Brentwood because it's very expensive to eat a Whole Foods at Brentwood, especially if you're a veteran that's on GR. So we provide food. So everything that the VA can't do, they come to us. And I'll just kind of close by saying when we share what we do, what typically happens is if the veterans can't get help with Chris at SSVF or they can't get help with us for Village for Vets, they have to pray. That's all you got. That's really tough. But our veterans, if they don't have those resources and they do that, there's nothing left. And we're just really fortunate that we do have what we have, and things are opening up for them. But it's a really powerful thing to be a part of this and make these differences and fill those gaps for the veterans that need them.
That's awesome. Thank you. Chris, give us a little bit about your background, and then if you could just kind of, from your experience, talk about what are some of the persistent, difficult barriers that keep veterans from accessing more sustaining, stable housing. Talk about that.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Again, Chris Gilrath. I've been with Salvation Army actually now for 10 years. I started off in employment services, and when I started, I didn't know much about Salvation Army. I thought Salvation Army was the place you go to get clothes and the place where they ring the bell. So it's quite an honor for me to know that we do so much, and I'm still learning every day about what the mission is and what the programs do. And so it's really a joy to be able to do that and get up every morning and do a job that gives back to the community, because I'm very community oriented. So working with the veteran population, working with my staff, really working to help them in homelessness in LA, and we've really made a good stride. I'm really happy with my team because our number is to hit 700 a year, and I'm proud to say right now we're at 792. So we've increased that goal by 100%. I'm very proud of that because it is a struggle. And to go to your point about what some of the challenges are, there are a few. And I think one of the biggest ones is LA being the second largest city in the country. You would think that there's endless abundance of housing, but there really is not. And that's been one of the biggest challenges, is really trying to find affordable housing for our veteran population, but also just really working within the system of helping our landlords engage with our veteran population, our homeless population, because it's not just veterans, but our focus is veterans. So one of the biggest challenges is really getting our landlords to buy in to working with our veteran population, because there's such a stigma with homelessness. Either, or they're all mentally ill, they're, have dependency issues. So we really have to work to engage our property managers and really help them understand that, we're here to work with our veteran population. They've given so much to our country. So for that, we want to partner with you to help us to get them housed and to get them off the streets. So that's really been one strategy that's worked, but it is a challenge. And so there's some things that SSVF has given us in terms of the National Program Office. One is being able to do incentives now, so we're able to give landlords incentives for working with our veteran population, which is huge. That just happened over the last 2 years, and that's been a big thing. And the reason why that's so huge is, again, there's that stigma. So we really work to help them with incentives. We also work with case managers to say, hey, once we get them housed, it's not just we house you and then you're out the door. We're going to give continuous case management. We're going to provide support. So if there are challenges, we're going to be right there to help with you. My staff does wellness checks. They go out and check on the homes that we provide for them. And so that's really been a really huge deal in being able to help them get through those hurdles. But the biggest challenge is just really working over that stigma, getting them to want to work with us.
And tell us a little bit about this One Team initiative and how that's been progressing.
So the One Team is something that was created by John Kuhn about 2.5 years ago. And it's basically what it is, One Team. And so it's a community of providers. You have SSVF, you have the VA, HUD-VASH, our grant per diem programs. We're working to get our police department involved in this. We're working to get everybody that's part of LA to be part of this team. And basically what it is all of us getting together. We have different committees like Access and Triage, SSVF and HUD-VASH, DPD collaboration. By name list, which is our list of veterans that we look at from week to week, and the data performance, because we need to know where we're going, and the data drives that. So we meet every week as a leadership team to discuss where we're at, what are some of the challenges, how can we better access and triage our veterans, how can we do it quicker. Our focus now is not doing it within a week. When we see a veteran, we want to get them in 24 hours, same day, because once we get the veteran in the door, it's going to be a lot easier to house them. So our One Team approach really focuses on all those areas. How can we best assist this veteran? It's going to take all of us. And so I work with Jim Zinner, who is the Director of Military Veteran Affairs, and Sally Hammett, who is the working Deputy Chief of the VA. And we all work together as chairs. But it's not about us, it's about the frontline staff, it's about our providers. We really get their feedback. What's working, what's not working. We just had a One Team convening 2 weeks ago at Patriotic Hall where we talked to our frontline staff because we wanted to know, they're out there doing the work. So we want to know what's working, what's not working. How can we better do this? What are some of the challenges you're seeing? So every week we're meeting to discuss those issues, and we're working about coming towards solutions. We want to be solution-oriented and not lane-focused or things like that. So that's really how we work to solve homelessness in LA.
So we've talked today about this is really a person-by-person, one-by-one approach. I'm just curious, let's put this to both of you. Is there anything particular about the veteran community on the streets of Los Angeles? Is there any need that is more prevalent, that is more of a, that is, if you can generalize, and if you can't, that's fine, but if you can generalize among that group, is there a need that is more prevalent that if you think, gee, if we could fix this one, we'd be on our way dramatically towards solving this problem?
I think for me, the thing that I see the most is really building trust amongst our veteran community, because they have such a mistrust because they've been burned in the past or wherever entity. And so I know when I go out with my team from time to time and listen to them, it's, oh, I don't know because you're with the VA, or oh, I don't know because of this. And so it's really working to gain their trust to say, well, this is going to be a different situation for you. How can we best be listening to what they're needing and what they're saying and not telling them what they need? Because I think a lot of the times they feel unheard. So I think really just working to build that trust back and showing them, hey, we're going to be consistent. So it really is about being consistent. If you say you're going to do something for them, you do it. And if you can't, you tell them why you can't do it, but you're giving constant communication, because I think that's the biggest thing, is just really building that trust and getting them to come into the buildings. Well, we have to go to depth, but I think it's really earning that trust is a really big issue amongst our resident population. So that's one of the things that I see that's a big challenge.
Ben, anything to add?
Yes. Vouchers. So, VASH. So, I'm not sure if you're all familiar with VASH, expedited Section 8 vouchers for our veterans. We have thousands of them that are not being used. If we can get those to our veterans, this is going to solve this problem. We're building that, especially on the VA campus. A lot of those are they're project-based vouchers, so those apply there as well. That's the key. We got to get on the same page and make sure we're doing that. Chris and I, we're starting to do vouchers. I used to be in VASH and I thought I was getting away from it, but no, like it's following me. So we're in Section 8, so they're actually experimenting with us, and this is the first time in the nation where people like Chris and I are the ones that are getting these vouchers to the veterans quicker. And one of the things that I've been a part of this, I'm a clinical social worker. There's a clinical aspect of VASH that I think sometimes I don't know if there's enough clinical people out there, unfortunately. You don't need to have a license or a degree to get a veteran a voucher. You don't. I can have a peer support veteran help somebody get through their application, submit it to the housing authority, help them find an apartment. Sometimes veterans are even better than me talking to these veterans. I've had veterans like, oh, I don't want to live there. He's like, what are you talking about, man? I live in this place. This neighborhood's great. I can't say that. But I think peers is a good way of approaching that too. But it's vouchers. It's that simple. We have so many veterans that we work with because SSVF, Supportive Services for Veteran Families, it's a short-term program. We can only help them for 9 months. What after the 9 months? We have veterans, they're never going to afford LA. I have staff that can barely afford rent in LA. So that's where Section 8 comes in. If we can give these vouchers to these veterans, I'm telling you, there will be not a single homeless veteran in Los Angeles. We have to do it.
Yeah, and on that issue, if you're interested to read more about this, Doug Smith, a reporter for the LA Times, wrote an article, published an article about 3 weeks ago, approximately, and it was in August, on this very subject, and he was rather critical of the administration in the city for the kind of the red tape and the bureaucracy that seems to be surrounding the inability to get these vouchers issued to our veterans. I think the number he put in the article was 4,000 vouchers. We've got 3,000 veterans that are on the street homeless, and we've got 4,000 vouchers. Problem solved, right? Yeah. So let me ask a question about, so looking ahead, vouchers is a solution. Any other innovative strategies or kind of plans, if you could you click your fingers and come up with something, what would you say is the future for veterans in the LA area, California, and nationwide for solving this issue for veterans?
So I see it twofold. The biggest thing I see is collaboration. And I'm really, with the one team approach, I really love that we've been collaborating a lot more because there's no long doors. So, it's not, we'll go to SSPF, we'll go to VASH, go to DPD. We all work together because we all have a common goal, which is ending homelessness. So I definitely, when I look to the future, I'm excited about the collaboration piece because you can't do it without it. You have to have collaboration. You have to communicate with your partners. And I see that happening a lot more down the road. It's happening now. With our binding list meetings, with our one-team meetings. Just we collaborate, Bell Shelter and SSVF, we collaborate all the time. And I think you can't do that. you're not going to end homelessness without that. You have to collaborate. It's going to take all of us to be able to get that problem solved. So I'm excited for that for the future. And I also think too, you can't end homelessness without preventing it. And so I think really that's the key thing for me. And I really appreciated the panel earlier talking about that. And that's one thing I'm big on with my team is that you have to be able to look at what is the root cause of their homelessness, because if you don't address that, it's going to continue, it's going to come back. So we got to get to that root. And so for me, for the future, I think there's going to be a lot more, because we do have a panel now or a committee group that's talking about housing retention within one team. So it's our employment providers, it's our GPDs and things like that to say, how do we get in front of this so we don't have to see it again on the back end?
So how do we identify veterans that are on the verge of homelessness and intervene in time to prevent it?
I think really for us is looking at, is that effective case management? You know, how actively are they paying their rent on time? Are we checking in with our property managers to see how things are going? And I think that's one thing my team does a lot of is, how is he doing? How is the veteran doing? Have you paid his rent yet? If not, what's going on? We do cost sharing. So a lot of that is, we'll pay their rent for a couple, because as Ben said, it is a temporary program. So we really work to help them connect early. We'll pay their rent for the first couple of months, but then, okay, now we're gonna cost share. We're gonna cost share so you get in the habit of paying the rent. And then every month is an increase. We'll do 10% this month, next month will be 20, next month will be 30. So by the time they're done with the program, they're at 100%, and it's not really gonna be a challenge for them. So I think it's just really being effective in the beginning and working with that veteran family to really help them understand that, you know, this is a temporary program, but we're gonna be with you every step of the way to help you through that process.
Thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, just to add to that, I think also is helping veterans understand what's out there. I'm a veteran, I have no idea a lot of the stuff. I mean, I do this work. There's so many things out there. So I think helping veterans talk to people, feel comfortable talking to the VA. Some of our veterans, especially those that have been homeless for a long time, they don't want to have anything to do with the VA. So a lot of it, I think, is education and helping them understand what's out there. And I want to spread, an invitation. If anybody's interested in doing a tour of the West LA VA, we offer that typically on Tuesdays at 10. Ben at villageforvets.org, let me know. It's an awesome tour. A lot of people don't know the history there. It's pretty amazing. But happy to share that with you all as well. But I think also what I was mentioning before, don't think that the VA is going to take care of this. Get rid of that. The VA is not going to solve this. It's going to be the VA. It's going to be the county. It's going to be the city. And it's also going to be private individuals, private donors. I'm telling you, so much of the things that are happening on the VA campus isn't really because of the VA. It's because of the people that support us and other entities to make these things happen. I'm telling you, those tiny homes wouldn't be there, probably even today, if it wasn't for us. So I mean, again, like Chris said, it's going to take all of us, and that's why the one team's working.
So you mentioned this briefly. On May 9, President Trump signed an executive order entitled Keeping Promises to Veterans and Establishing a National Center for Warrior Independence. Tell us a little bit about how that's going, if you can say anything more about it, and we're making progress towards his vision of literally housing 6,000 vets on the campus by 2028, I think was the
Yeah,
goal.
6,000 by 2028. That's awesome. We'll see. I think a lot of people are like, okay, 6,000, that's a lot. Everybody's waiting. There's supposed to be a report submitted to an activity report or an action report any day now, maybe even today, and then we're going to find out more. So everybody's just on standby on what that looks like. So that's really where we're at. But I mean, I think, again, it's exciting. And also it's kind of surprising, I mean, to see, because all the political stuff that's going on, like LA, really? Like that's going to be the place, that's cool. Like I'm happy for that. But just so you guys know, just a little context, almost 1/3 of all homeless veterans live in California. Yeah. 10% live in Los Angeles County alone. This is why it's here. We have a major problem here, and we got to help resolve it. But the thing is if we can make this work, and we have been, this is going to change the entire nation. And it really impresses me that this one team and everything that we're doing now is becoming a national model because it is working. So I know there's a lot of doubters and a lot of skepticism and cynicism about what's going on. Don't have that with veterans. We're making a lot of progress. So.
And just to piggyback off of that, we presented in Washington, D.C. last year about one team. And because of that, we have one team being started up across the country now. Because they said, we really like what you guys are doing. So I wanted to highlight that because that's huge. So we've had people from all over kind of sit in on our meetings. And I encourage all of you to be part of that. Because again, it's going to take all of us in this room to end homelessness here in LA. So I wanted to highlight that too.
We have a couple of minutes for for questions. Anything from this group? Yeah, Phil.
Hey, as you guys are entering the VASH world, VASH is great, you know, 4,000, do a lot of things for homeless. If you're interested, I can connect you with a lawyer friend who runs a Veterans Foundation, Veterans Benefits, and OC, where of course the cost of living is extremely high, like Los Angeles. A lot of landlords push back, and there's a lot of issues, a lot of legal battles, so there's a lot of lessons learned. If they open the floodgates, especially with the cost of housing in LA, that may be helpful, so if I could turn you on to her, you do it.
Thank you, for sure.
Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you for your service, guys. The VASH program and the vouchers. We run shared collaborative housing. The last panel talked about maybe sometimes people aren't ready to have their own apartment. We have no vouchers whatsoever shared in collaborative housing. The cost to have a person pay rent in one of those houses is between $600 and $900 a month. The vouchers that are worth, how much are they worth to the landlords? $1,200, $2,400 at that time. So if you could provide shared vouchers for people in shared housing, it would also just wipe out a huge number. Because sometimes these vets, we put them all together in a home. A single family home might have 8 people. There's duplexes that have 10 and 10. Shared housing at $600 to $900. They can't afford to pay the rent, but if those vouchers are sitting there, give them vouchers for collaborative housing prior to moving into a permanent supported housing.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll just say, I served on a ship where we had 60 guys in one room, so that's a big upgrade.
You can do it. And just so you know, for the VA, when they first started the West LA VA, they had barracks. It was run by, they had a captain. I mean, it was like the military. That's all they ran it. So I think one of the things too, to that point, just really quick, is that I think one of the challenges for veterans that we really have to work on as a veteran myself is veterans also have to recognize after they get out of the military that they're out of the military. We have a lot of veterans, unfortunately, that still have this mindset where, you know, I can go to a GPD, I don't have to pay any rent, and I got my rack and I got my chow hall. No, you got to get away from that thinking. You got to be able to kind of be independent. We got to work, and that's what we're doing at the VA campus. We're encouraging a culture where veterans can be more independent. Make sure they're paying their rent. To Chris's point, they're not falling out of homelessness and taking care of what they need to. But again, that's an entire effort by all of us to help these veterans be where they need to be.
Thank you both for the work you're doing out there on the streets and joining us.